Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here. Welcome back to the channel. So today, if you guys have heard the rumors, they are true. We do have a new augment on the horizon, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it. But before we jump to that, if you guys are new here, as always, my name is Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate subscribers work our way towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So it's come to my attention that they kind of changed up how NGS has basically changed up how they do server announcement or server maintenance announcement articles. In the past, they've always looked something like this. It's just server announcement, and that's basically it. Maybe a few things to be taken care of during that server announcement. But on the 25th server maintenance, they threw in the June update information, the actual link itself. And what you'll find is that this link here, the July update information, no longer takes you to that page you're used to seeing before you jump into the other one. It takes you directly to the update info now. So we'll probably change up how we do our maintenance video guide, or our maintenance videos in general. I was about to say guide, but our maintenance videos in general. It's just something to mention because they actually are including now patch notes in the server maintenance announcement, and that's what we have here today. So server maintenance announcement for the second. Starts at 10 p.m. EDT. Pretty standard. PC, Xbox, PS4. Cool. So we've got quests and fields. From the end of scheduled maintenance on the 3rd until the start of scheduled maintenance on the 16th, all urgent quests occurring in the Ilya region will be changed to urgent quest Alpha Lake Counterattack Part 2. So we have the urgent quest that's going to be shifting. This is like a limited time urgent quest for that time frame. I'm not sure if afterwards it's going to kind of stay that way moving forward as they have in the past, but we'll have to see. The rank 1 enemies in the urgent quest Alpha Link Counterattack Part 2 have been changed to level 90. So it's also been upgraded to our current level. Pretty standard. This has been a Phantasy Star thing forever, dating back all the way to Phantasy Star. What is it? Even Blue Burst, I think, did this with different difficulties going upwards. So pretty standard. The big ticket thing, though, is Grand Gladia Soul has been added to the Item Labs Augment Capsule product list under Exchange Enhancement Materials. So the fact that we have a new dual quest coming out. So if we actually pop over, I don't think I mentioned here. Yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick. One sec. So yeah, the fact that we have dual quest phase 5 means a new augment is on the horizon. Basically, whenever we get a new dual quest, we kind of get a new combination augment for us to use. This time around, looks like it's going to be a Gladius Soul. I was saying a while back, it is about time for Gladius Soul to get an update. It's been pretty much the same on like the powerful 4 augments that we have. It's the only one that hadn't really seen any change, so I'm not really surprised that we have this coming up. It does mean that Gladius Soul augments are going to go up in cost. People are going to pre-purchase these, whether it is to make their Grand Gladius Souls, or it is to just drive the prices up as others are going to try to purchase a bunch of these as well. Basically, supply, demand, so on and so forth. So that is going to be something that's going to be really important. So if you haven't already made your dual quest gear, I highly recommend going ahead and taking care of that because of the current campaign that's going on. So until the end of basically today, I mentioned this beforehand, so this isn't the first time we had this conversation, but until the end of today, you have to make you have these different things to take advantage of. So you have, if you're multi-weaponing, 50% off, excuse me, potential 50% off, limit breaks 50% off, augmentation rates plus 5%, preset skills plus 5%, and then enhanced success rate plus 100%. Basically increasing by 90% during the campaign, and you have your standard base 10%, making it 100. So if you haven't already made your equipment for dual quests, I highly recommend going ahead and at least making some units at level 61. It might be, you may have to push them to 81 because it may be 7 augmentations this time around as opposed to 6. Usually it's followed the trend of being the number that we have in slots for our current setup. And since we are up to 7 augmentation slots, it may be 7 different augments that go into that. So keep that in mind. You may want to push that up to 81 as opposed to the usual 61. And then of course, get your unit to your weapon to plus 90 and get it set up. I would highly recommend going ahead and doing that today, or at the very least, as soon as you possibly can, while these I guess today's your only day, right? But getting this done today while these enhancements are currently going on. I took care of making my weapons during this campaign, knowing that we had another dual quest on the horizon. While they were 75% off for the Aeridims, which is what I would probably use for my dual quest weapon unless you're going with a cheap option. Cheap option being one of the weapons that you can grab from, one of the weapons that you can grab from the events of, well, I guess events past or an event that's coming up in the near future. Those will work out perfectly fine, but save yourself as much money as you possibly can. We did recently talk about, I think just yesterday, about the cost of upgrading items and how much of a problem I personally think that is. Granted, these are always really nice to have access to. It's great that these are here, but when they're gone, it's pretty harsh on the wallet. And as a little bonus nugget of information, and totally not because I need to push this video out to around 8 minutes or so for it to be, standard for the YouTube algorithm, we do have an answer on the Get 100 Million Experience campaign that we were kind of curious about that didn't really get confirmed before this. So a couple of things to keep in mind here. First and foremost, note that only one character per account is entitled to receive NEXP 1 million or 100 million during the campaign period. So this isn't permanent. This is only during this campaign itself, and you only get one of these per account. One character gets it, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't specifically say you only get one every time you hit level 20, but as it is once per account, I'd imagine it's only one time per that character. And that will take you from level 20 all the way to level 87. I highly recommend, if you are someone who has some classes that aren't leveled up just yet, keep in mind that this also gives your subclass levels, and it gives you levels up to 5 of the current cap. So your main class will go to 90, your subclass can go up to 85. Now it does get 90% of it. I believe it shows it in here somewhere. Let's see if we can find where it's going to show that. Scroll down. Here we go. When you earn experience, 90% is also added to classes as subclass, allowing multiple classes to be trained at the same time. Enjoy unique battle actions of NGS by leveling up a variety of classes. So I would highly recommend, if there are some classes you haven't leveled currently, go ahead and take care of setting those classes as your subclass, your main class. Alternatively, as long as this ticket does not have an actual expiration date, you could also in theory save this for a future class that may show up on the horizon. They did have mention of that, and this was an article specifically, that they have conversed or they've talked about adding another class to the game or a new class, but they haven't really, there's nothing really ironed out. They don't know what the weapon's going to be very obviously. They basically that it's in the talks, but nothing's in the actual works yet. So if you're someone who likes to play the long con or play the long game, you can of course hold on to something like this and then get a massive chunk of experience for that class whenever they do pop up. These tickets usually don't expire. If they work anything like they have back in base PSO2, which I imagine they do work very similar since they're an end variant of them. But I digress, it's totally up to you. The last use of these is it is a straight 100 million. You can't stack other bonuses on top of that, meaning that it doesn't matter if you have boosts going on or anything along those lines. It shouldn't apply to these. I say shouldn't because this is the first time we're getting these. We don't know if that's how it actually works. So it is something that's going to require some testing. So I highly recommend just keep that in mind if you're someone who wants to try to stack up a bunch of buffs. If you're okay with your buffs possibly being wasted, then go for it. However, we don't know for a fact that does work. It hasn't worked in the past, so I expect it not to work here as well. Also keep in mind that if you're someone who wants to just, maybe you've leveled everything to cap, you could possibly save this for next levels, but maybe you're someone who needs class cubes or NEXP cubes or NEX cubes, excuse me. You can also use this on your main class or your main character to get a chunk of experience to go ahead and overlevel to get more X cubes. This is definitely a way that this can be used. It is up to the individual at the end of the day. I don't know what I'm going to do with mine. I may hold on to it for now and then try to figure out what I want to do with this moving forward. There's also, something you have to mention. There's also the chance that this is only for new/returning players technically, meaning if you're not either the new or returning player, like, what is it? Umbrella, or if you don't have the sprout basically with the flower, or you don't have the sprout in general, that this won't apply to you. There's nothing here that specifically says that that's the case, and all of these resources and all of these rewards have applied to everyone, even though we were way past all of this stuff when it originally released. So it's safe to assume that you will be able to get a hold of this. It doesn't say that you'll be barred from it or anything along those lines. It just says once you reach 20, you get this, and we've had plenty of limited quests that have auto completed the moment we've logged in. So I'm not super concerned, but I have to mention it because it is something that technically is in the wording that they use for returning or new players. And there is a returning and a new player status for players or characters whenever they log into the game. So fingers crossed they're not referring to that specifically, but we'll have to see. And that's it. Takes us to the outro. Do all the cool YouTube things. It helps out a ton. Thanks to our channel members, and I will see all you wonderful individuals next time. Take care, my friends. Oh yeah, I'm still bad at outros. Peace out.